Hi guys, it's Dakota. Hope everybody's doing well. I hope that you are staying safe and healthy. I hope that you are being smart and staying home. It is hard, I know, for some to stay home. But just remember 6 months ago, 7 months ago, when you were too busy to do the things that you wanted to do, like read that book or plant some flowers or take a nice long bath because we were too busy, we couldn't do it. And now we have the time, and now it seems like everybody's complaining that, I'm stuck at home, I'm so bored, I have cabin fever. And I get it, I get it. But we got to deal with what's in front of us. So, okay. So I had a bad week last week. I had to close my store, and it's a long story, with the COVID virus thing, and it was painful. It was really painful. So I'm just anxious to get back to work. So anyway, I was not feeling. I just didn't want to do a video last week. So here I am today. And today's video is sort of a play on, or I was going to do a VR to my friend Drew over at She Who Walks Between the Worlds, to her video that was called Intuition and Intention. But mine is called When Goddess Disappears. So they're similar, but they're not quite the same. But that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, when Goddess disappears, and what I mean by that. So, as you know, I've been on this journey for well over 30 years. Closer to 40, but who's counting? And I haven't always been serious, I mean, come on, I was young, you have life, we're in and out of it, I didn't practice it seriously, and like I do today. I had not had my formal training, and I just wasn't, I don't know, I was just sidetracked. I actually, and I regret that. I wish that I would have had that mentor back then, that said, hey, look, you have the gift. This is who you are, and let's cherish it, and let's develop it. I wish that I would have had that then, but I didn't. I only have what I have now. So I'm taking what I have, and I'm trying to use it to the best of my ability, and this is what I have to say. So I'm going to say that it was probably maybe 20 years ago, 15 to 20 years ago. Pretty sure it was during a meditation. Because I didn't do journey work back then that I know of. And if I did, I certainly didn't do it to the extent that I do it now. But I did do meditation. I started meditating so long ago, I couldn't even tell you. And so it was either during meditation or it was during a dream. I could not really tell you the honest truth about it. But whatever it was, I had a goddess appear to me. And this was long before I had like a path, like I'm following this path, or I'm this kind of a witch, or I'm a root worker, or I'm a Norse pagan, or I'm a whatever. I didn't have a name for what it was that I did. I thought and felt like I was practicing witchcraft, and that's the most that I can tell you. But I wasn't as familiar with the things that I think are important to be familiar with in witchcraft to have my magic be as effective as it is. I'll just put it that way. So again, so I had a goddess come to me. And what's interesting is that when she appeared, I knew immediately who she was. I knew what her name was. I even knew how to spell it. And yet, I had never, ever heard of that goddess before in my life, ever. And so that was kind of strange for me. So I knew that it was a goddess, and I knew that it was this particular goddess because I knew her name. But I didn't know much about her. I didn't know anything about her. So I thought it was odd. I didn't understand it. And so I had to get books out and do some research and find out. I mean, I will tell you this. I was extremely excited. I was like, I was in awe. I was beyond anything that I can describe, that a goddess came to me, you know, but yet I didn't know anything about, I didn't know who she was, never heard of her, and yet I knew her. So, so I had to look her up and do some work. Well, in doing so, I was even more confused because I didn't understand. I didn't understand the correlation, like who she was and what her aspects were, the characteristics of her, and what she was all about, all of that, what it had to do with me. I mean, it just totally didn't make any sense whatsoever. I just really didn't get it. And yet at the same time, I thought, I know her. I mean, I know who she is. Like, I could just feel her. And so, of course, I said, well, you know, this is who I'm supposed to have. I finally have a goddess. This is great. And so I took the work that, you know, the information that I knew or had read about her, and this is over the course of a couple years. And I'm going to tell you the truth. And the truth was that I really still, after all of that, I still didn't understand why. Like, what does any of that have to do with me? So, you know, if we take Aphrodite, let's say, and Aphrodite is the love goddess. So then I could understand that if I was needing love or looking for love, or I'm supposed to be a worker of love somehow. Although Aphrodite does have different aspects. I understand this. I get this very much. But I'm just saying, just as on a norm, those would be some of the first words that you'd hear about Aphrodite. Love goddess is what I think of, or Venus. Gosh, let's see, who else? Diana, I think of the moon, you know, things like that. So, but this particular goddess, I certainly didn't understand what any of her aspects had to do with my life now or past. And the only thing I think of is maybe it had something to do with past life. But it didn't matter. I was excited and just in awe that, you know, I had a goddess that I was going to be able to work with. But I found it very difficult. To relate to her energies. I wasn't feeling her in that respect. I think now when I look back at it, I think that it was something that I turned off because I didn't know her. I'd never heard of her. I don't know. I really don't know what it was, what the reason was. But the end of the short version of the long version is that because of that, and because I just couldn't quite figure out the whole thing, I truly and honestly, and wrongly so, did not work with her. I had a depiction of her on my altar, and but and I would call to her a couple times, but I didn't do devotions to her. I didn't, it was just weird. It was very strange. So anyway, years down the road, I don't know if I was in a meditation, if it was journey work, if I was astral, I don't know what happened. Sorry, I'll pull that down a little bit. But lo and behold, and let me just say that during the time with the other goddess, I'm very witchy. I was doing witchcraft stuff. I was doing spell work, healing work, working with the herbs and oils, and very candle magic, and I was being a witch. All right. So then, years later, this, and again, I don't know. It was journey. It was meditation. I cannot pinpoint it. Another goddess appears. And this time I know exactly who she is. To the point that she says, I'm here to work with you and to have you work with me. And I remember either saying or thinking, I don't know which, oh, it's very kind of you. Thank you so much. But as you see, I already have a goddess. And I remember that feeling of maybe her almost laughing, like, oh, isn't that cute? But she was really insistent, and I was really insistent back. And I said, no, I'm not working with you because this feels deceiving. There's something wrong with this. I already have a goddess. So I don't understand why you're here and telling me that I'm working with you now and, whatever. And I was so confused. I went to a friend of mine and told the story. And this friend was a mentor of sorts and said to me, well, that you can have more than one. And I was like, you can? And this is how much I didn't study, folks. This is why you need to study. I was like, you can? I don't understand. Why would I? I already have one. Why would I work with two? I don't even work with the one. Why would I work for two? Yeah, that's where I was. And so anyway, I was told about that. Well, and then I was also told by my this particular mentor, that I really needed to go into some deep journey work or deep meditation, and I needed to contact this original goddess and say, look, what's going on? I'm confused. What's happening? And so I did. And, basically in my petitions and stuff, I basically just said, I don't understand. I realized that, and I was afraid. I thought, I've blown this. I've just blown everything. I'm going to have to find a different path, I guess. And, but I just remember specifically saying that, I don't understand, why are you abandoning me? Because this other goddess says that she's my goddess now and that I'm to be working with her. So I realize that I haven't worked with you and that I probably haven't done what I should have done. And so I'm sorry and forgive me, but please don't leave me. And then there was the silence. There was nothing. There was it was just like a hum. There was no energy, not with her, not with the other goddess, not with my spell work, my meditations. There just was nothing. I literally was getting nothing. And I thought, yeah, well, that's the end of that. Okay, so, it wasn't working. That's just the way it was. And I continued and I continued and I continued. And one day I heard my original goddess. And she said to me, I have done everything that I needed to do for you to get you this far on your journey. And I'm not leaving you. I'm not abandoning you. Just because I'm quiet doesn't mean that I have left. I am still here and I will always be here. If you have a need for me, you just speak out and I will be there. But I am not abandoning you. But everything that I have taught you thus far is my, that's my cup of tea. You're at a place in your journey now where you need somebody stronger. I don't mean physically stronger, but just in your development. Because by this time I had grown in leaps and bounds, and there were things that I knew and things that I was doing, and the fact that I was not ignoring her, but not working specifically with her, it was almost, the words were almost like she said, I have chosen the best of the best for you to move forward with your journey. And that's who this goddess is. So she's not replacing me, but you're at a place in your journey where this goddess is going to carry you forward and can carry you further in this part of your journey than I could. And so that was, I was relieved to know that. And then I was super excited because then I had two goddesses. And so I embraced my second goddess. I embraced her. But at the same time, I was very, very apprehensive about things that I had learned, things that I was doing before. And I was kind of sad and upset that I felt like I was walking away from that, or that I had to walk away from that to embrace this new. And what I found out was, no. What you've learned in the past is what's made you who you are today. And so we would never ask you to leave your past behind. You don't ever have to do that. So we know, so it was like, I do have some Buddhism practices that I use. I'm not Buddhist, but I do try, I love some of their practices, and it feels right for me, so I use it. I do like working with roots and bones and ancestor work and working with conjurer and the hoodoo line, and no disrespect to those of you that are full-time practitioners in that. That is new for me. I've only touched the surface of that, and I would love to be politically correct, and I'm sure that I'm not, and so I do apologize for that. But I'm just letting you know that I was working on that. And I love swamp witchery. That's what I call it. I can smell the swamp. I love the bayou. I've never been to the bayou. I've never smelled the bayou. But I know that swamp witchery is part of who I am. Past life, perhaps. And when I brought that forward with my new goddess, I said, but I don't want to, I embrace you, but I don't want to leave this behind. And she said, well, why would you? I've never asked you to. I've never asked you to leave that. To discover me and to know me doesn't mean to give up that which you've had in the past. That isn't what it means. And so I had to sit on that for a while, and I had to really think about that. And it was fantastic. So what I was about to learn was either going to be something entirely new, or it was going to be in addition to what you already know. Bring it forward. You are who you are, and we're working with you because of who you are, and we're not asking you to let go of anything in the past of who you worked with, what practices you did in the past. It makes no difference unless those practices don't resonate with you anymore. And don't say they don't resonate with you anymore just because that isn't my practice. It just means there's things, obviously, as you grow, there's going to be things that you don't do anymore. They just don't resonate with you anymore. And then those things you can let go if it doesn't resonate with you. But those things that do, if you have, an affection for those things and you feel them, then you should be able to bring them forward. And I just know that I've never been asked to let anything that I've learned, anything that I've worked with in the past, any gods, any goddesses that I've worked with in the past, I've never been asked to let them go. Let them go because they're going to distract you from this. Never. I never have. Only if it doesn't serve my highest good. That's all. And so I've been able to bring the ways of my practice, the things that I practiced in the past, I've been able to bring them into the way that I practice today with she's not my new goddess anymore, but she was at the time. Now, this goddess, she is my primary goddess now. She is the one that I work with almost exclusively. I am devoted to her. I am a priestess of her. I am 100 in with her. She is my everything. But I have not forgotten my past either. And all I learn in my new path is adding more substance to that I brought forward into this. And not only that, just so you know, I have a third one as well. And she came through when I was going through my initiation when I was going through my formal coven training, going through my initiation. And it was through a lesson. And I'm working on the lesson, and all of a sudden it was like, whoop. And it was like, right there. However, I knew at that point that I was not to dismiss this one or this one and just go with this one. We work as a team, and they encourage me as a team to bring forth anything that I want to bring forth from my past connections, from my past connections and past studies and things that I've done in the past that are feel good for me, things that I work with. I'm a fire person, I'm an air sign, but I work with fire. I always have. They never said don't work with fire. We're working with this now because I'm not fire. Never. Let me show you some other aspects of fire. So it's a growth. I've never felt sad to move forward. I've never had remorse. I've never had, since the very first time. Well, and she didn't abandon me, but I was feeling abandoned. I felt like I was being abandoned when the new goddess appeared. I've never had those feelings. I know that any time that I am working on anything or have a need of anything, which is in the charge of the goddess, by the way, have a need of anything, that I literally can call on any of them, and depending on the circumstance, and they will come forward for me. So I just wanted to say that, I did go through that period of feeling abandoned and just thought, oh, this is just, such a farce, and I've wasted all this time and energy and, blah, blah, blah. And then it comes through. And that being said, the part about leaving the past, or, having to abandon that past or whatever, to move forward, is that, it's part of who you are. It's who you are. Your growth where you are right now is exactly where you're supposed to be. And you're where you're supposed to be because of the past. It's where you're supposed to be right now. But there's a whole future, a whole forward movement that's going to be happening. And they're moving with you. Their bags are packed and they're moving with you. So you should never, have to feel sad about that, about leaving something behind that isn't, that you don't want to. It's that simple. So anyway, that's all I have to say. The only regret that I ever had was that I didn't have a mentor when I was very young, and I knew, and it's a knowing, but you don't know what that is, and that's it. So I hope that clears some things up for some of you that may be going through a similar transitioning maybe from one goddess to another. Sometimes it's even a different pantheon. It could be a different pantheon, and in fact, it could be a whole different path. I could probably name 10 witches that were, that practiced witchcraft, who got called by the Norse, by the Asatru Pantheon. And so they don't really practice witchcraft anymore. They don't practice witchcraft. They are now part of the Asatru, the Norse pagan community. And so it was a growth. It's a growth. So that's all I'm going to say. This is way long. I tried to make it short, and I couldn't get it any shorter than that. So I hope this has helped some of you. Would love to hear any of your comments or your thoughts on this. If you've had any similar experiences, would love to hear your comments below. In the meantime, please stay safe. Please be smart, stay at home, stay healthy, and I look forward to seeing you. And then I think my next video, I have it's an ongoing healing altar for the COVID-19 virus. It's world healing, and Of course, it's most candles. So when they burn down to their thing, and I start another one, I usually change it up just a little bit. And so I thought maybe for my next video, I will show you the new one and kind of walk you through what I'm doing for it. Okay, so something different. It'll be fun. All right. Okay. Be safe. See you next time. Bye, guys.